3.
What have you done with Spock's brain?
That's right. Star Trek, the original series, season 3, episode 1 or episode 6, depending on what order you go in, is over and has been since 1968. But we're just getting started here on TED Trek Mondays here on Live Long and Podcast, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, or maybe you're listening to us in the audio version after the fact. Let's bring in our panel tonight. We're this is the latest we've ever been on for this show. Jody Simpson, how you doing tonight, Jody?
I had to watch Spock's brain.
And was it everything you were hoping for?
I was hoping for it to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it. And then also we got Adam Woodward. Adam Woodward, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fine. Brain?
Yeah.
Brain? What is brain?
What is brain?
Brain and brain. What is brain?
It's what you fucking killed when I had to watch this goddamn thing.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to talking about this nonsense. This was not a good episode.
Yes. And also he's with us tonight, yet he's remote in from some location. We're not sure where. Ted Mater, we can't hear him. We won't be able to hear him on the podcast. You can see him on this podcast, and he will.
Who's speaking for him? Is it you?
I'll be speaking. I can hear him. So this is
okay.
because he couldn't get through to the Be Live link, so I can hear him, and he will be passing on his words of wisdom to me, which I will.
Undisclosed Ted location.
He's in.
Hey, he's not next door to me, is he?
Are you next door to Adam?
That's a big answer.
It's a yes or no.
He's on the. He's
Fuck. This isn't hard.
He's in the Don and Tracy studio in a remote location, undisclosed. So, having a sandwich, looks like maybe
He's
or something.
looking forward to talking about
Pizza. He's having some pizza. So
something else other than Spock's brain.
So he's listening along to the podcast, and he'll be coming in. But Dad, we'll bring you in as we move through the episode.
Mater translation.
Yeah, you can't, and they can't hear you. Just remember that too. Only and somehow I can hear everybody. Isn't this fun?
It is. I think
so. This is kind of an
like
experience.
Jody is right. He's the best. I don't know why I ever argue with him. I think that's what he said.
Yeah. Something along those lines. He can't retort, unfortunately. All right, let's bring Dad off video just for now. He's on. He's here with us in the background as we move through this episode. So, guys, Jody, Spock's brain, the greatest of all of season 3, perhaps.
Honestly, Dave, I rather slip my ball sack and sit in salt than watch this episode again.
Well,
that's terrible.
It's terrible. How terrible though, Jody? Like, is this?
You'll find out when we rate it.
We will find out. I am curious to see what number you put up against it. Okay, now Adam, are you as a hater for Spock's brain, or where do you sit with this? Okay, did you have
I don't hate it, but because it was almost funny. There's some honest to God, what they did with this episode. First of all, was there a writer that never knew about Star Trek #1 coming in? But Dave, it was awful. It was awful. Start to finish. That nothing made sense. Why did they take his brain? Why did they pick him? Why did they pick the Enterprise? I don't. There's no plot.
Well, there is a plot, but it's so stupid, and there's no way you could ever follow it. There's literally, it goes from one scene to another. It's like you're watching a mini series, but out of order. It's so weird.
Okay. Let's quickly. So Dad, let's bring you in here. So Adam and Jody are saying that this is just a really strangely written episode. It has no plot. Why did they target the Enterprise? Why Spock? How does this ever get going? And then it becomes like this weird brain chase, goose chase. Would you agree with that, or where do you stand with this episode? And he says it's a brilliant episode, one of the best he's seen.
Okay, there's got to be a translation error here.
Yeah. He says, beautiful plot, a spaceship comes along, and this girl comes out, and, she's in the high boots.
There was that.
Dear God, I will find you.
Yes, right.
This is the most bizarre podcast I've ever been on.
Yeah, he said he was bizarre because he was making him walk around remote control and things like that.
I wonder if they make a remote control Spock like that I can buy.
This was before.
That would be cool, though.
This was before there was Data. He's saying this is before there was Picard. This is when Star Trek, knew how to do it.
Good old Ted, and we're back to this now.
Guys, it was the 60s.
Brilliant.
And we didn't know any better.
Did you guys catch all that? Like, oh my God.
He says that, yeah, brilliant was used a lot in the description.
I have a funny feeling you're translating wrong.
No, it's verbatim. I'm Scout's honor.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
Scout's
yeah,
honor.
so-
That's pretty high on the list there.
Yeah. All right, Dad. You can stay with us here as we break down this episode further. Okay, so Spock's brain. Yeah. So this woman pops. There's not much of a beginning, and then the woman pops in. She her name is what? Anyone want to help me out with this? I never. There's a few of these.
Care.
Yeah. Let's bring just
The girl.
Yeah, this one. She comes in with
She
the
started
green.
green.
The outfits
thinking,
are very
Kirk's
interesting,
gonna have this then.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the outfits were very well. They're very like a lot of them were.
See, this episode is so boring. Adam's doing his taxes right now.
Yeah, I'm late.
It's not even tax season.
He's like, you know what? I'd rather do taxes than talk about this episode.
It's funny you said that. I just handed those in today.
Oh. Hopefully we didn't get you in trouble.
I guess her name is Luma, or no,
Yeah,
Kara. Kara.
Was it Kara?
Yeah. That was a good name for me. Yeah, Kara is the name of the leader of the iMorg, who are the female side of the species, although they don't. It's kind of an interesting culture here on Sigma Draconis 6. Right. So anyway, so she comes in, and then after the open, we find out that Spock's brain is missing. It's a miracle of science, and McCoy is barely keeping him alive. But that becomes the premise of the episode. Is like, how can this happen? What's the mystery? And Kirk and McCoy's like, even what does he say?
His brain is gone. It's been removed surgically.
And he goes, if it can be taken out,
It's taken out, can be put back in.
it can be put back in. So there's a bit of a mystery here, but they eventually do find that there's a series of planets, and Chekhov is kind of put to work here in this in one of the opening scenes here.
This is the best scene of the episode, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because we see here Chekhov is a relatively new character still. I guess he's in his second season at this point, and he's he's the junior science officer to Spock, and so he's explained that there are 3 planets here, and they're in different levels of in development. He says one's in like the 1400s compared to Earth. One's like
so they did a great job, using the scale of what, because there was it every M class, and there's a number around it or a letter around it, which describes the stage of evolution. And
Now, was this actually originally in the show though, or was this added in? Because to me, it looked added in.
no, this is original.
You think that's original?
Maybe the graphic isn't, but certainly the.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
we'll
I mean the text, yeah, for sure. But I was just wondering if that screen is or not.
But what I thought this represented was like real collaboration. You got a junior science officer, like when he got up and started, like I was waiting for his little clicker to come out.
yeah, his little PowerPoint presentation, Chekhov. I thought that there was some.
What it really showed here to me is that actually Kirk does listen from time to time and to his crew, and they all have a purpose. So this was a great scene, and there was like talking about it and where do we go, and
he goes, let's go to that 6th planet. He goes, well, it's a hunch.
A hunch, Mr. Sewell.
What did you guess wrong, Captain?
I guess wrong. Mr. Spock is dead. Spock will die.
Spock will die. If I
See,
guess
they
wrong,
could've- They could have wrote this. They could have even wrote that line better. He could have been like, oh, my hunch, there's women down there. That would have been a little bit more Kirk, I think.
maybe. I don't know. I thought that this was a good problem solving, good Starfleet problem solving here. I like that. There was a lot of shots forward here to the view screen, especially Kirk walking along the bridge in some of the opening scenes. I thought were interesting shots that they put in here. And
there was also a scene where one of the yeomen walked across the screen, or maybe a medical crew. It was just a different perspective of the bridge than we've seen before. Like I never saw them use it usually in the conference room for stuff like this.
Yeah, it's true. They usually use that like 3-sided thing.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, Dad, to have a meeting there on the bridge, right? That was kind of a fun, like the way they shot that. Yeah, he says yes. He says very different. Yeah,
but that's probably where most of the meetings happen.
Well, yeah, because you're working on the fly, right? You don't always have time to go and
let's meet in the conference room,
especially when you got a man with no brain.
But the only thing is, in the conference room, they get served those little fruits that are different squares.
We get fruits that are different squares, but up on the bridge they'll get a coffee cup and
they only get a coffee cup. That's
Dixie
it.
cup.
Yeah, it's more like a Dixie cup.
Hey, Dave, before I forget, I noticed a uniform inconsistency last night.
Oh, here we go. I knew this was coming.
Okay, what do you mean the inconsistency?
So why does Scotty tuck in and the others keep their shirts out?
I think because he's wearing a different belt on the away team.
Maybe, but I don't. Well, maybe that's it.
Speaking of belts, did you see where one went missing in the episode?
No. Okay, here let's see if we can
later. Because
I'm just gonna see if I can bring in a photo here quickly just to see.
Yeah, he's got the same belt on.
He's got the same over belt or over his shirt, but yeah, his shirt cuts off at a different place than Kirk McCoy's does.
It's tucked in.
It's actually because he has an additional, like almost like a Velcro belt on top, in between the other belt.
Okay.
Cut the guy some slack. He's missing a finger.
Yeah, but these are the new velour uniforms, so it's.
Adam, you have no sense of humor today. Come on.
It's because this episode sucked it out of me.
Good answer.
Okay. I gotta tell you though, as I was watching this tonight,
I like McCoy in this episode.
I was enjoying it more and more. I was like, this is almost like a bad B movie. You
think they made it bad on purpose?
No.
Not on purpose. I don't think it was done on purpose, but it almost had like this campy Doctor Who feel for me for part of it that I could.
The show isn't Doctor Who, so that's
no.
Well, Doctor Who isn't even really Doctor Who anymore.
No, Dad saying the cinematography was excellent.
Not totally sure what he was watching, but okay.
It's very forward. There's some interesting shots.
This might be the episode that has broken Adam. Adam is usually like a really nice, energetic, happy dude, and like he's broken. He's hurt, Dave.
No, I'm not. There was some it was comical, but it was just a waste of my time.
Well, okay,
That's
there was
exactly how I feel.
What about the fight we had with the caveman guys? I guess
the fights are always good, Dave. Like the fights are always good.
What do they call the morgue?
Yeah, and they again oh man, just off
What this whole thing where they fight them, but they got the phasers and they only have clubs, but they kind of see them coming.
Women have good outfits, but the men have like crappy ones. Did they ever?
It was something about It was something about like the history and how they had come to live on different parts of the planet. And
okay,
yeah,
I must have nodded off during that part.
Did anyone notice when Spock, Kirk mistook? He said, "Hey, Spock, Mr. Spock, what's going on?"
That was cool though. That was on purpose.
What are you talking about?
So when they beamed out of the planet just before the fight, he goes to Scotty. Hey, Mr. Spock, what's the readings? He goes, I meant Scott, Mr. Scott. And here I got the clip.
Life form readings, Mr. Spock. Scott. Scattered.
Yeah,
that was totally on purpose.
because it's almost like he's mourning his friend too, because he doesn't know if he's going to be able to get putting a brain back in. Tall order.
Well, for everybody but McCoy, obviously.
Yeah, a child could do it. Is what come to find out. Yeah, so they get some information from the morgue. He's like, "Don't go that way." He's like, "You're small. You're not." These guys are meant to be. I think I don't know how well they pull it off in the episode, but they're meant to be more like gigantic than the Enterprise crewmen here.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, they go really large, really big, and they didn't really. I don't think they pulled it off fully. But
because at that point I was waiting for this guy to stand up again to see the size difference, and I think they could have done better making him bigger.
Yeah, I think they were all tall people they tried to cast, but it was just like I think there was meant to be more emphasis there, because they said that they weren't that the humans that in comparison, he's saying to Kirk and Scotty, like you're not like us, like you're not like our species, right? And so what are you? And the women say it as much when they go down below. He goes pain and delight, which is an interesting combination.
It's called marriage.
Is that what they're saying? Is that what the metaphor of this episode is?
I think so.
No, I think it's getting. Yeah. All right.
Adam is just broken. I'm telling
What the
you.
others do to cause such terror?
What was it he said? Pain and delight?
Peculiar mixture.
A peculiar mixture.
So what exactly were they just talking about their used for sex, but then they get the little zapping because of that waistband thing, or what's going on there? Like
What do you mean?
I found these people on the planet maddening because they couldn't give a straight answer for anything. They couldn't understand a damn thing. And
No, and I think the purpose was they're trying to make them sound like they're kind of monotone and like they don't know what they're doing anymore because like everything's out of them now. And the brain was obviously running the show, right?
The teacher, you mean? Like the brain machine that eventually makes McCoy super smart? Yeah, it's meant to be like to be some kind of like that's the computer. I don't know.
Well, the whole point is that their society was being run by this brain, and the brain has died, so they needed another one.
Right.
So they got a spare part, which happened to be.
So they
Spock.
threw Kara into the teacher, which made her so smart for just 3 hours, smart enough for 3 hours that she could run. She flipped up to the Enterprise, stole Spock's brain because she had the knowledge, enough knowledge for that short amount of time to do so. She put it into their controller, and that's what happens here. Spock's brain ends up in the controller down below, and then McCoy has to try to learn that knowledge in order to sort of reverse the other way. That's really it in a nutshell. We also find out so after that fight, and Kirk goes one way, and then Chekhov and the guys are left on the surface of the planet to sort of camp out. I did like that they made a little campfire with their phasers. Not the first time we've seen this on the show.
Okay, here's the other problem. All right, they're going to a cold planet. What the hell's wrong with a pair of gloves and a jacket? Every time they get down there, like, and then they heat up the rock, and they're doing this whole thing.
The minute I saw that rock, I'm like, Adam's gonna get pissed about this.
Well, I got pissed about it in the other episode with Sulu.
Exactly.
Dad, do you agree? Dad, a question for you. Do you agree that it's nonsense that the Starfleet officers don't bring gloves and hats with them and coats? Instead, they get cold down these planets and they have to heat up the rocks with their phasers. He's saying, so it's warm in the daytime, it gets cold at night, so you can't pack for every season. They're not wearing layers. Yeah, he says, what Star Trek ever wore winter clothes? The answer is many, Dad. But it's because later on, like if they filmed this today, if they made the same episode today, they would have
Star Trek 6.
Yeah, Star Trek 6.
Star Trek 6 had a winter outfit.
Star Trek the reboot.
Yep. Yeah.
This was the breaking edge thing at the time. This is how it went.
No, this is dumb. They have a transporter. It's working. Beam things down. Beam appropriate. Look, they're all on the ground. It's all dirty.
I'm telling you, Adam's been broken.
It's just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Like I just don't understand why in the future they can't get warm clothes.
I don't. They
Because
can't.
then how are they going to make the rocks glow?
Yeah, okay.
You spend money
It's what
on a
it's
glowing rock.
like. It was fun how he just took it. Right, he took it off his belt and he heated up the rock. And
Dave,
he
I
put
knew
right,
what you were gonna do right away. I think they like making rocks glow and getting near them. I don't know what.
yeah, and he was like,
Well,
we've
to their
waited as
defense,
well.
though, to their defense, though, that is a cool effect, especially for the 60s.
Yeah,
That's
he goes, it may be a long wait.
It might be a long wait. We may as well be comfortable.
Yeah, so we let's make like a little fire with our phaser rocks. Yeah,
But they don't look comfortable, and this whole over, like I just
Yeah. They're all like hovering over it, doing this.
oh, they were doing the rubbing the hands together. You know,
Yeah,
it was a
yeah,
peculiar
universal
mixture.
side of
Peculiar mixture.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
that was pretty good there, Dave. That sound cue. You're right on
Right
there.
on cue. I would go for
Right
it.
on there. Yeah.
All right. So while that's going on in the underground city, so it's Scotty McCoy and Kirk, Scotty and McCoy rather, and they encounter Luma down on in this area. So she is one of Kara's fellow. What are they called? The Imorg. They are the beautiful female race who live in comfort below the surface of the planet, but they have the minds of children. So Captain Kirk finds that he is able to establish contact with Spock's brain by using his communicator during the scene, and there's kind of some interesting things.
Captain Kirk. Is that you, Dr. McCoy?
it was agreeable hearing your voice again.
Yes, that was the.
Captain, there is a definite pleasurable experience connected with the hearing of your voice.
Oh, it's even dirtier when he says it.
Yeah, that's pretty dirty. That's pretty like if you're.
Adam made it sound kind of tame compared to.
Well,
what it
I
was.
couldn't believe that Spock actually said that. I didn't remember the exact words, but yes, you're right. It's terrible.
Yeah. And if you just take the captain off, you apply it to anybody.
There is a definite pleasure.
Sorry.
Dave, I got a quote here from another person who has written an entire thing about this episode, and I thought it'd be interesting to share if you're okay with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Jody.
This is from Jammer's Reviews. I don't know if anybody is familiar with them. He's done basically every episode of Star Trek going. And just this little snippet I like. My snickering continued throughout the episode, occasionally peaking at the many moments in when Kirk demands in desperation, quote, "What have you done with Spock's brain?" Before long, the very words Spock's brain becomes laughable. Perhaps even Mark Daniels couldn't take his remotely seriously, having seemed to have directed it in all of its cheesiness and story is worthy of the epitome of bad science fiction.
What have you done with Spock's brain?
Yeah, he's like, what have you done with Spock's brain? Where is Spock's brain? You got to give me Spock's brain and put it back in.
It's true, though. Every time you heard Spock's brain, it started getting worse and worse, didn't it?
Yeah.
Not until that girl, whatever her name was. Brain and brain?
Yeah, brain and brain? What is
Kara.
Brain and brain. What is brain?
What brain? Brain.
What is brain? And who is Spock? And what do you want?
That's how I'm going to start every podcast from now on. What is brain?
Yeah. But despite all that, even
That's
though
going to be the new Miri joke.
yeah, they get taken prisoner and they get put on these belts get put on them, as we showed a little bit earlier. That they apparently cause intense pain, like more, maybe even worse than the agonizers of the mirror universe. It seemed pretty intense for these three. They sold it pretty well.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They said something about a magnet or something. Is it possible? Maybe it's like two magnets like pulling together.
Maybe,
like
but
them basically.
Yeah, they don't get too specific with what the pain is, but they said that it was like nothing they'd ever felt. And so a few times they get they get put like what do you say, like subdued, I suppose. But they finally come to understand that the controller that they've been talking about is actually Spock, and that they have now put Spock into their computer that's now running their whole place. And so and then they're able to incapacitate the guards by who are these guards too? Like there was a couple like I guess other morgues that they've taken down below.
I thought they were Klingons.
Another great fight.
Another great fight with the morgues.
Yeah, in that room. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I like the action. I like when Star Trek has a bit of action, about intellectual different things. And so they eventually come to find the actual chamber that Spock's brain is actually in.
Okay, before we get to that though, can we talk about the robot Spock walking around?
Yeah, we really should. Let's find well, here's a photo of him, and maybe not in the sorry. What am I doing?
I just can't imagine when Leonard Nimoy read this script and he goes, "Oh dear God."
Yeah.
Well, there'll be a lot of things about that in fun facts tonight.
Like Leonard Nimoy had to be on set all the time, just in having pre-recorded all his lines in a soundstage, and then having gone in here and just has to wear this thing on top of his head. He has to go into full makeup too, so he has to be there early. He has no lines. He just walks around pretending to be a remote-controlled man.
But remote control was kind of like bad looking. I mean, it didn't. He did a lot for those 4 buttons.
There was 8. 2 rows of 4, and it had a little dial on it.
The little controller that they control him with, it looks like like on Quantum Leap, with like when Al had Ziggy,
I
He's like,
thought,
beep, 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 beep.
I thought of that, and then it made me think of another show that's better than this episode.
Quantum Leap or Enterprise. Yeah,
actually, Quantum Leap's also a good better than this episode.
Right. So, but after the fight and after they eventually. So yeah. Okay. What do you say about Spock? I'm okay with it. Like, it's kind of weird, but I don't know if Leonard Nimoy enjoyed it. We have to find that out in Fun Facts, Jody.
I don't know if we have exactly that thing, but there is some quotes with him.
Yeah, but again, it's the choice of his green overalls. The uniform was terrible. Like, what is he supposed to be here? Do they have a closet full of overalls for these guys on the Enterprise? Because they're always wearing these things.
Here's a question: if he has no brain and he's just a shell of a man, there's just nothing inside of his skull, and he's being remote controlled by this machine.
Why is there a thing on his head then?
Well, it's controlling, like, there's machinery here that's controlling, like, it's regulating his heart and it's keeping him alive. Somehow. Which
you would think if that was possible and that was the reason why they did it, they wouldn't have him walking around with them.
Dad says you have to have imagination.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still think it's not practical to bring the guy that has no brain that's been taken from him.
But why is
he's on life support system to take him on an away mission? That seems like the dumbest idea in the world, but all right.
Well, they're like, yeah, like to bring Dad. Do you think that Dad? Here's the criticism of the episode. Was this a bad idea to bring the man who has no brain, who's going to die, along for the away mission and remote control him? It turned out to work out, right? It turns out to be.
Well, it kind of saved the day, really.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't have worked because he couldn't feel pain. Because when they were trying to get him out of there, right? Like because Spock's body couldn't feel it, he was able to get to subdue Kara. Right? He says yes. He agrees with me, and that's it. So some cool